Hi folks, Jim here. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I know I am. Today I want to talk to you about why I upgraded my camera to the Canon 5D Mark IV and why it turned out to be the best option for me. And I'm going to do this from the peaceful quietness of my weekend yurt. So the first question is, why did I decide to upgrade from my trusty 5D Mark III? And I'll tell you, it happened while I was on a video shoot in Guatemala, and it became very obvious to me that I really could have used a camera that had robust autofocus. There were too many times where I missed focus and lost the shot. In this clip, for instance, I missed focus entirely, rendering it totally unusable. And in this clip, I didn't attain focus manually until the little girl had moved her head out of sight for most of the clip. Again, not usable. So my camera research was heavily balanced towards Canon for a number of reasons. I own several Canon lenses. I love the color science of Canon cameras. They render skin tones incredibly accurately. I do have a Sony a6300, but what I don't like about the Sonys is if I wanted to use my Canon lenses, I would have to get an adapter. I tried one of those. I just didn't get the same performance out of the lenses with an adapter on my Sony camera. So one of the things that gets touted about the 5D Mark IV is the touchscreen. And that's pretty cool. Although most of the shooting that I do, I put on a external viewfinder so that when I'm shooting outside, I don't get any glare. So in those situations, the touchscreen's really not going to make a difference. But there are situations where it comes in real handy. For instance, you can see how just touching the screen, boom, immediately gains focus on whatever you're touching on. So I think the focus mode that I'll be using mostly will be turning off the auto server mode and using the one touch, so that when I move the box to a subject, I just press the shutter lightly and it brings that into focus. And I'll definitely be using the auto servo focus as I am now with face tracking. It's pretty incredible. I mean, you can just move around and it's going to follow you, keep you in focus. And when I'm tracking someone, this is going to be a tremendous feature. This is something that the 5D Mark III doesn't have. So I really wanted the option to be able to shoot in a log format. So the 5D Mark IV that I bought came loaded with the Canon log, and that just gives me a little bit of extra dynamic range and availability when I'm color correcting. So that's kind of a nice feature. I don't always use it, but it's there, and when I have used it in the right circumstances, when there's a bright sky or other highlights that I need to maintain detail in, it comes in really handy. So I like to shoot B-roll in slow motion. I mean, I think a lot of people do. And the 5D Mark IV, although it has 120 frames per second, that's only in 720p. And some people really gripe about that. But you know, that wasn't an issue for me. So when I shoot slow motion, I shoot a lot of it in 60p. And the reason for that is with 60p, you can maintain the audio. When you shoot 120p, you don't get any audio. So what I do is I shoot in 1920 by 1080 in 60p, bring it into Premiere Pro, and then I slow it down, and the results are really, really smooth. So let me show you how I slow down my 60p footage in Premiere Pro. Right-click on the clip you want to slow down and select Speed Duration. I usually slow down 60p footage to around 25 or 30%. Then under Time Interpolation, select the optical flow to help smooth out the footage. The result is excellent. So not having 120p at 1920 by 1080 really wasn't a deal breaker for me. I don't shoot a lot of 4K, but I wanted a camera that was able to shoot 4K. And the 5D Mark IV shoots 4K in 24p and 30p. However, it comes with a 1.7 crop factor, and this is something that people really have been poo-pooing about the 5D Mark IV. So when I'm shooting 4K, the way I'll deal with this is I'll just use a wider angle lens. And you can see in this example here, it works perfectly fine. So having 4K video with a crop factor really, again, was not a deal breaker for me. So knowing that I wanted to stay with the Canon cameras, there were two additional things that really pushed me over the edge for the 5D Mark IV, and that is price and form factor. Now, the 5D Mark IV is nearly identical to the 5D Mark III, which obviously I'm incredibly familiar with because I've owned it for 4 or 5 years, taken it all over the world. I know how to use the camera, very comfortable with it. As you can see, they almost look identical, same button setup. The 5D Mark IV is slightly lighter, which I think is a good thing. So the first Canon camera that I looked at was their flagship camera, the 1DX Mark II. It's an amazing camera. It's bigger, it's heavier, which I didn't really like, but the price, $5,500 to $6,000. I bought the 5D Mark IV for $33.99 with Canon log applied. So I mean, that's a $2,000 savings, you know, and that's not chump change. I also looked at the Canon 6D Mark II. I've watched some video reviews and people love this camera for vlogging because of the articulating screen. But I do a heck of a lot more than vlogging. So I really needed a more robust professional camera. Now the 6D Mark II is $1,800, and I'm sure that it's a perfect camera for the right reason, but it just wasn't the right camera for me. So regarding articulating screen, that's another complaint people have about the 5D Mark IV is it doesn't have an articulating screen. So when you're vlogging, you know, I can see how that would really come in handy. It would have been nice to have, but not a deal breaker for me. Most of my video shooting is not vlogging, so I don't really need to have the articulating screen. When I need to get to a low angle, you know, an articulating screen, sure, it would come in handy. But the Canon 5D Mark IV has built-in Wi-Fi. And if you download the Canon Connect app, you can connect your camera to your phone and use your phone as a monitor. So if I ever need to get really, really low and I can't look through the viewfinder or the screen, you know, I just connect it to my phone and I can see exactly what my camera is seeing, and I can adjust my camera to get the right angle. And I think that's a really cool feature. Another really cool feature that I like about the 5D Mark IV is it has two auto white balance settings. AWB-W renders indoor tungsten light to a purer white than auto white balance. As you can see in this example, the AWB-W is far more accurate than standard auto white balance. Any variations are easily tweaked in post. So just a basic recap. Is the Canon 5D Mark IV the best camera for filmmaking? The best DSLR for filmmaking? Of course not. That camera does not exist yet. The perfect camera does not exist yet. But the 5D Mark IV was perfect for me. It does everything that I need it to do. I love the fast and accurate, industry-leading autofocus on the Canon cameras. It takes pristine video, amazing color science, especially with skin tones, great slow motion at 60p, 4K when I need it, and it did not break the bank. So I guess the real message in this video is do your research and find the camera that's best for your needs. It might be the most expensive camera out there. It might be a lesser camera. Just know what's important to you, do your research, ask questions, watch videos, and take your time. Don't rush into it, and make sure you find the camera that's best for your needs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.